One would think that space travel would finally have been more or less figured out by the 24th century, which is when Star Trek The Next Generation takes place. Before that, we had Captain Archer's Enterprise, which was basically an experimental tin can that Starfleet threw into space and hoped for the best. And Kirk's Enterprise? Well, you had to deal with the captain's mood swings.
I'm alone.
But after those guys came Captain Jean-Luc Picard's Enterprise. He and his competent and capable crew gave viewers dreams of slipping into some Lycra leisure wear and voyaging to the farthest reaches of space. And maybe catching an all-nude Betazoid wedding or two. But truly, serving aboard the Federation's flagship in any era would have been an unending living nightmare. Seriously, if you got a job on the Enterprise, you're not going to live long or prosper. Sorry to burst your bubble, especially if your head's inside it. Transporters are murder. Nothing is more iconic about the Enterprise than her handy transporter system.
Spin the control knob and press the button. Mr. Spock disappears.
Who needs a shuttlecraft when you can just beam down to a planet's surface and beam right back up when the red shirts start dying? But there's a reason that Dr. McCoy didn't really want to zap himself through space.
Oh no, they're forming.
Transporters work by breaking down each and every one of your atoms, then reassembling them on the other side using a pattern of basically everything that makes you, you. You're turned into energy, beamed through space, and just reassembled somewhere after effectively being torn apart on an atomic level. Philosophically, is that faxed version of yourself still you? And if you think about that question too much, will you ever sleep again? That's not even the worst of it. Transporters are also terrifying. And what about the hundreds of transporter accidents that seem to happen on a monthly basis ever since they were invented? You might transport evil doppelgangers from a parallel universe who take over your ship. You might split yourself into a nice version and a nasty version. Or even worse, you could be merged with someone you don't really like. You might be turned into a kid again. You could accidentally have rocks and twigs beamed into your skin and bones. So the next time someone offers to beam you up, maybe you should just take the stairs. Space is a nightmare. Picard's Enterprise was full of families, working, living, and making even more space babies. There were enough little scamps running around to freak out Captain Picard. But just because this version of the Enterprise was more love boat than war vessel, didn't mean they weren't constantly warping right into trouble. And while we all saw the high adventure from the perspective of the bridge, there were 1,000 men, women, and children just trying to get through their stupid day without blowing up. Life in space is a nightmare. And on any given Tuesday, your chief security officer might develop a venom sac and start spraying people in the face with it. Or the ship's second in command might turn into a caveman. And you can't do anything but hide under your uncomfortable space bed with your whole innocent family and wait for Data to figure everything out. You know, if the superpowered android isn't the problem in the first place. Yes, you get to explore the far reaches of space, but you also get driven slowly insane when a space rift causes everyone on board to go bananas. Meanwhile, you're just trying to replicate your family some dinner. A family that no longer includes Mom because she was turned into a Borg and wasn't important enough to save because her last name wasn't Picard. You live at your job. To live on the Enterprise is to never truly have any time off. Your boss lives right down the hall, and you have to listen to him practicing flute at all hours. And it's very unlikely you'll get a real break that won't be interrupted by a Ferengi attack. Let's hope you have plenty of contraband Romulan ale stashed away somewhere, because you're going to need a stiff drink after listening to Riker play his stupid trombone at every single staff birthday party. And statistically, there would be about 2.7 birthdays every day. Imagine wanting to just have a few minutes to yourself and instead having to answer unending questions from Data about what it is that makes you human. There's always the holodecks, right? Nope. Those are horror machines also. The holodecks are nasty. There's only one way to truly cut loose on the Enterprise, and that's the holodeck. Want to fight cowboys or solve a mystery? Well, just hit a couple buttons and you're there. That is, if one of your superior officers isn't bogarting the thing. If you're a lowly ensign, something tells us there's a 6-month wait. But you know what's really going on in there, right? Just look at Lieutenant Barclay, or Riker.
If you need me, I'll be in holodeck 4.
Unless being a creep has been cured by the 24th century, we all know what those dirty decks are used for. And on Deep Space Nine, they don't even try to hide it.
I've been waiting waiting for you.
The real question is, whose job was it to clean up in there? Now that may be the worst gig in the galaxy. But that's not the end of the holographic horror show. Holograms will mess you up. Holodeck malfunctions, like transporter disasters, regularly made life on the Enterprise totally bonkers. You can get trapped inside, bleeding to death because the safety protocols get busted. Again. You can get addicted. Or a program you created can take over the whole stupid ship. Whether it's the sultry Minuet or Professor Moriarty, there are plenty of characters that started out as programs and ended up being fully self-aware beings, which tends to end pretty tragically.
Will my wife and kids still be waiting for me at home?
I honestly don't know.
That's how Picard says, hell no they won't. These beings are given full, meaningful lives, but they can just get trashed whenever someone's done using them, or the next crew member comes in to play the Three Musketeers for the afternoon. So really, it's hard to blame them when they try to destroy the Enterprise. Even the ship's most genius engineer knows that the holodecks were a complete disaster.
We were like warriors from the ancient sagas. There was nothing we could not do.
Except keep the holodecks working right.
You don't matter. There's really no other way to put it. If you're not a member of the senior staff, you're basically space trash. Just keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and press the buttons. Then leave without a word when Data shows up, and everything will be okay, right? But even Picard's fish gets a name. You don't. At least the Borg can make you feel useful. And if you don't have at least 3 circles on your collar, or a fishbowl in the captain's office, you're expendable, and everyone knows it. Frankly, it's enough to drive a guy insane. Even Will Riker found this out when he was duplicated in a transporter accident and found himself serving under, well, himself. Within a couple years, he became a straight-up space terrorist. And then, there's that kid in the rainbow jumper who basically outranks you because the captain feels kind of bad about maybe killing your dad once.
Sir, I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but...
Shut up, Wesley.
So the Enterprise? Picard probably said it best.
It was a nice place to visit, number one, but I wouldn't want to die there.
Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.